Dr. Elena Vasquez adjusted her seismic monitoring equipment as Kepler 442b's crimson sun dipped behind jagged obsidian peaks. The barren planet stretched endlessly in every direction, a perfect laboratory for studying tectonic patterns without the interference of civilization. Her research station, a modest cluster of prefabricated modules, represented humanity's first permanent foothold on this distant world. 3 months into her solo mission, Elena had grown comfortable with the isolation. The rhythmic hum of life support systems and the gentle ping of incoming data formed a technological lullaby that helped her sleep. Tonight felt different, though. Her instruments detected unusual electromagnetic fluctuations patterns that defied geological explanation. Unknown to Elena, something ancient stirred in the planet's depths. Evorthic had slumbered for centuries, waiting for the electromagnetic signature of sentient life to disturb its rest. This creature had hunted across 17 galaxies, perfecting the art of psychological predation. It fed not merely on flesh, but on the exquisite terror that preceded death the sweet. Nectar of absolute despair, the entity emerged from subterranean caverns like liquid shadow, its form constantly shifting between states of matter. Tentacles of living darkness probed the surface, tasting the psychic resonance of its prey. A human alone, vulnerable, perfect. The Vorthic's alien consciousness rippled with anticipation. Humans were deliciously complex creatures, their minds rich with imagination and fear. It would savor this hunt. Elena's motion sensors triggered as something massive moved beyond her perimeter. She frowned at the readings. The signature was organic, yet unlike any life form in the xenobiological databases. Her training kicked in, methodical and precise. She activated recording protocols and began documenting the anomaly. Whatever this was, it represented a significant discovery. The Vorthic circled the research station, studying its prey through multiple sensory spectrums. It detected elevated heart rate, increased neural activity, good signs. The hunt was beginning. The creature began its ritualistic approach, broadcasting low-frequency psychic emanations designed to induce primal terror. It expected screaming, panic, desperate attempts at escape. Instead, Elena calmly calibrated her instruments and began taking readings. Her pulse remained steady as she documented the electromagnetic disturbances. The scientist in her was fascinated by patterns that suggested an intelligence behind the phenomena. She opened a secure channel to Earth, uploading her preliminary observations to the Colonial Science Directorate. The Vorthic paused, momentarily confused. Where was the fear? Every sentient species it had encountered throughout cosmic ages responded identically to its presence, with overwhelming, paralyzing terror. This human's emotional spectrum registered curiosity rather than dread. Perhaps she simply didn't understand the danger yet. The creature decided to make its presence more obvious, beginning the second phase of its psychological assault. As alien. Whispers echoed through the thin atmosphere, and shadows moved with predatory intent around her station. Elena continued her work with scientific detachment. She had dedicated her life to understanding the unknown. This encounter, however unprecedented, was simply another puzzle to solve. The Vorthic's confusion deepened as it realized this prey was not behaving according to any pattern it had experienced in millennia of hunting. The Vorthic escalated its assault, manifesting partially invisible spectrum to demonstrate its overwhelming physical presence. Its form towered above Elena's research station, a writhing mass of shadow and sinew that defied Euclidean geometry. Barbed appendages scraped against her habitat's reinforced walls, while otherworldly vocalizations resonated through the structure. Elena documented everything. Her equipment captured detailed scans of the entity's morphology, energy emissions, and behavioral patterns. She remained inside her station, not from fear, But because standard first contact protocols demanded maintaining protective barriers until threat assessment was complete, her fingers moved efficiently across control interfaces, adjusting sensors to capture data across multiple spectrums. The creature's psychic emanations intensified, projecting images of its previous victims' beings from across the galaxy who had died screaming in absolute terror. It showed Elena corridors filled with bones, planets stripped of all life, entire civilizations reduced to whispered legends. The Vorthic expected these visions to shatter her sanity, as they had countless others. Instead, Elena took notes. Each projected image provided invaluable xenoarchaeological data. She cross-referenced the alien architecture and technology depicted in the creature's memories with known galactic civilizations. Several species matched entries in humanity's incomplete databases of extinct cultures. This entity was a living repository of galactic history, discovery that would revolutionize xenobiology and astroarchaeology. The Vorthic's confusion transformed into irritation. No prey had ever responded to its psychological warfare with academic interest. It decided to demonstrate its physical capabilities, effortlessly tearing through the station's outer airlock. The screech of twisted metal should have sent the human into hysterics. Elena calmly activated emergency protocols and retreated to the inner laboratory module. Her habitat's modular design allowed for exactly this scenario, not predator attacks specifically, but any breach of outer containments. She continued recording even as the creature's appendages probed through the damaged sections, searching for her. What truly disturbed the Vorthic was a growing sense of being observed. Its ancient instincts, honed across eons of apex predation, detected something watching from beyond the immediate vicinity. The sensation was subtle, but persistent multiple presences focused intently on this encounter. Yet its enhanced senses found no other life signs on the planet. Elena's equipment was more sophisticated than the creature realized. Quantum entanglement communicators maintained real-time data links with Earth, streaming every moment of the encounter to the Colonial Science Directorate. Teams of xenobiologists, military analysts, and AI systems observed through her instruments, analyzing the entity's capabilities and behaviors. The Vorthic attempted more direct psychological manipulation, projecting terror directly into Elena's neural pathways. The technique had never failed to reduce sentient minds to gibbering madness. Elena experienced the artificial fear, but recognized it as external interference. Her training in deep space isolation included psychological conditioning against various forms of mental intrusion. She neutralized the creature's influence with meditation techniques and chemical countermeasures. As the standoff continued, the Vorthic made a disturbing realization. This wasn't a chance encounter with random prey. The human's equipment was too advanced, her responses too prepared, her behavior too controlled. Every action suggested someone who had anticipated this confrontation. The creature began to suspect that it might not be the hunter in this scenario, but rather the subject of an elaborate study. Elena activated her habitat's external lights, flooding the area around her station with brilliant illumination. For the first time in millennia, the Vorthic found itself fully exposed and visible. The creature instinctively recoiled from the harsh glare, its shadow form writhing uncomfortably in the artificial daylight. Specimen exhibits photophobic tendencies. Elena spoke calmly into her recorder. Morphology suggests adaptation to low-light environments. Estimating biomass at approximately 12 metric tons, distributed across variable geometry, consistent with non-Newtonian matter states. The Vorthic's alien psychology reeled at being categorized as a specimen. Throughout its existence, it had been the ultimate predator, ancient, feared, unstoppable. No creature had ever regarded it with clinical detachment. The human scientific terminology felt more violating than any physical assault. Elena's instruments detected the creature's electromagnetic distress patterns. Its energy signature fluctuated wildly, suggesting emotional instability. She made careful notes about the correlation between psychological pressure and the entity's physiological responses. The data would prove invaluable for developing countermeasures. Against similar threats, the Vorthik attempted to retreat into the planet's subsurface caverns, seeking the familiar comfort of darkness and stone. Alina's seismic sensors tracked its movement with perfect accuracy. Ground-penetrating radar mapped the creature's tunnel network, while gravimetric scanners measured its mass distribution. Every attempted hiding place was immediately detected and catalogued. Subject attempting to establish territorial withdrawal to defensive positions, Elena observed. Underground mobility suggests extensive knowledge of planetary geology. Possible extended habitation period, minimum several hundred local years. The creature's paranoia intensified as it realized the humans somehow anticipated its every movement. Worse, those watching presences were growing stronger. The Vorthik's enhanced senses detected quantum entanglement signatures impossible, technology that suggested real-time observation across interstellar distances. It wasn't just being studied by one human, but by an entire civilization. Elena received new instructions through her quantum communicator. Earth-based xenobiologists wanted specific behavioral tests conducted. She began implementing psychological pressure protocols designed to map the creature's cognitive responses. Structured light patterns, mathematical sequences, and harmonic frequencies were projected into the cave systems where the Vorthik had retreated. The entity experienced something unprecedented helplessness. Every tunnel it entered was illuminated by probing beams. Every attempt at stealth was countered by sophisticated detection systems. The humans seemed to possess impossible awareness of its location and activities. The predator's ancient confidence crumbled as it realized it had stumbled into a trap, spanning decades of preparation. Elena's research station was not an isolated scientific outpost, but a carefully positioned observation platform. Humanity had been tracking the Vorthik's movements across the galaxy for over 40 years, analyzing patterns in the disappearances of exploration teams and colonies. Kepler 442b had been selected specifically because geological surveys indicated the creature's presence. The Vorthik's psychological profile, built from studying its previous hunting grounds, revealed consistent behavioral patterns. It preferred isolated prey in barren environments, always following the same ritualistic approach. Human xenopsychologists had predicted its responses with remarkable accuracy, preparing contingencies for every phase of its hunting cycle. As the mice creature cowered in increasingly shallow caves, surrounded by scanning beams and measurement devices, it experienced true fear for the first time in eons. The hunter had become the hunted, trapped in a web of scientific observation that turned its every instinct against it. Commander Sarachon's voice crackled through Elena's communicator with barely contained excitement. Phase 1 complete, Dr. Vasquez. Excellent work. Begin Phase 2 protocols immediately. Elena smiled as she activated additional systems hidden throughout her research station. Panels slid away to reveal military-grade scanning arrays and signal amplification equipment. Her modest scientific outpost transformed into a sophisticated command center that had been disguised for months. The Vorthik felt the electronic environment shift around it. New energy signatures blazed to life across the planet's surface, dozens of concealed monitoring stations emerging from camouflaged positions. The creature's electromagnetic senses were overwhelmed by the sudden activation of a planet-wide sensor network that had been lying dormant, waiting for this moment. Target is fully contained within observation grid, Elena reported. All concealment protocols have been dropped. The subject appears to be experiencing severe psychological distress as it realizes the scope of our preparation. Across human space, Xenobiological research teams celebrated as data flooded in from Kepler 442b. The creature that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia was finally under controlled observation. Every movement, every energy emission, every psychological emanation was being recorded and analyzed by the most advanced AI systems humanity had developed. The Vorthik attempted one, desperate escape, surging upward through solid rock toward this planet's surface. Elana's systems tracked its progress, while orbital platforms adjusted their positions. The creature broke through the surface near the polar region, its dark form silhouetted against the crimson sky as it prepared to launch itself into space. Spotlights blazed from a dozen directions, pinning the Vorthik in overlapping beams of intense radiation. The creature shrieked, the first vocalization Elena had recorded as photon bombardment disrupted its molecular cohesion. It crashed back to the surface, writhing in apparent agony as its shadow-based physiology was forced into painful stability, confirming vulnerability to high-intensity photon exposure, Elena noted clinically. Subject demonstrates severe photosensitivity beyond normal parameters, recommending tactical applications for future encounters. The Vorthik's ancient mind struggled to process its situation. It had been lured to this planet by what appeared to be perfect prey, only to discover that every aspect of the encounter had been orchestrated. The human's isolation, her research mission, even her emotional responses, all carefully calculated to trigger the creature's hunting instincts while gathering maximum intelligence. Helena received authorization for Phase 3. She activated quantum communicators that had been secretly deployed across the galaxy over the past 4 decades. On 17 different worlds where the Vorthik had previously hunted, concealed beacons came online simultaneously. Each beacon projected the creature's current location and biological data, broadcasting its vulnerabilities to every human settlement within range. The predator that had relied on mystery and terror for its power found itself completely exposed. Its hunting grounds were revealed, its capabilities catalogued, its weaknesses documented and distributed. Across human space, colonial defense forces received detailed tactical briefings on how to detect, track, and neutralize the threat that had claimed so many lives. The Vorthik experienced an emotion it had never known: shame. Its entire existence had been built on being the apex predator, the ultimate terror that stalked the galaxy's dark corners. Now it was reduced to a laboratory specimen, helpless under the analytical gaze of a species it had underestimated completely. Elena began the final phase of documentation, recording the creature's psychological breakdown as it realized that humanity had turned the tables completely. The hunter had become the hunted, and its reign of terror across the galaxy was about to end. The space around Kepler 442b shimmered as cloaking fields deactivated across a vast area. Ships materialized out of seeming emptiness, dozens of human vessels that had been maintaining silent watch for weeks. The fleet represented the largest coordinated military operation in human space history, all centered on capturing or eliminating a single entity. Elena watched through her station's enhanced viewers as the human colonial fleet arranged itself in perfect formation. Each ship carried weapons specifically designed based on the data she had gathered: photon cannons, quantum disruptors, and psychological warfare systems tuned to the Vorthik's exact vulnerabilities. Admiral Marcus Rodriguez's flagship, the U's Determination, took position directly above the creature's location. His voice echoed across all communication channels. "This is Admiral Rodriguez to the entity known as the Vorthik. You are surrounded and contained. Your 4,000-year reign of terror across this galaxy is over." The Vorthik, cowering in a shallow crater where the photon bombardment had trapped it, felt the weight of an entire civilization's focused attention. Through quantum-entangled networks, billions of human minds observed this moment. Children, On distant colonies watched their greatest nightmare reduced to a helpless specimen. The creature's power had always derived from fear and mystery, both now completely stripped away. Elena received her final instructions from Earth Command. Dr. Vasquez, you're authorized to make first formal contact. This is humanity's official response to 40 years of predation. Elena activated her suit's external speakers and stepped outside her research station. The Vorthic's massive form writhed weakly in the crater, its shadow matter flickering unstably under the harsh lights. For the first time, she addressed the creature directly. "Entity designation Vorthic," she began, her voice amplified across the barren landscape. "I am Dr. Elena Vasquez, representing the Human Colonial Alliance. You are under observation by 17 separate human fleets positioned across the galaxy. Your hunting grounds have been identified, your victims cataloged, and your capabilities fully documented." The creature's psychic emanations shifted from fear to desperate fury. It attempted one final psychological assault, projecting every terrifying memory from its millennia of predation directly into Elena's mind. The images were horrific, entire worlds stripped of life, countless species driven to extinction, civilizations that existed now only in the Vorthic's twisted memories. Elena absorbed the projected horror with scientific detachment. "Thank you for providing complete documentation of your crimes across galactic history. This psychological projection has been recorded and will serve as evidence in the tribunal proceedings." The Vorthic's fury collapsed into something approaching despair. Even its most devastating attack had been neutralized and turned into legal evidence against it. Every weapon in its arsenal had been anticipated, countered, and catalogued by these impossible humans. Admiral Rodriguez's voice boomed across the planet's surface. "Vorthic, you have two choices. Surrender yourself for study and containment, or face immediate termination. You have 60 seconds to decide."